Hello, everyone. And I am really excited because I am here with an amazing client of mine. Her name is Carine. And Carine and I started working together a couple years ago, actually, because she is now a mom. And I'm really excited to chat with Carine about her story, a little bit about her pregnancy journey. Why don't I just bring it over to you, Carine, and tell us a little bit about who you are, kind of where you are with regards to your fertility and your baby, and just a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, firstly, thank you, Nora, for agreeing to do the testimonial. I'm really excited to share a little bit of my story and my journey. It had some twists and turns, so hopefully it will be interesting. What can I tell you? I'm originally, I am Canadian. I don't live in Canada currently. I moved to Israel 4 years ago at the age of 31. So now I'm 35. So the math makes sense. And I got married during the Corona era. I'm like trying to do the math, but everything in like the COVID era just like melts together. And actually during that time, because we were postponing the wedding, we wanted to start trying to conceive. And I was 34 at the time. Now I'm 35. And I had, concerns, like I think most women that are approaching or in the mid 30 range. And Nora was a tremendous help. And I'm excited to share more details on that with everybody. But yeah, as Nora said, I am now a very proud mother to almost 7-month-old daughter named Zoe. Maybe I can throw up some sort of a photo of her. I mean, this is like my iPhone background, but
she's adorable. Proud mommy right there. It's beautiful. Yeah. And of course you have military time on your phone because you live in Israel.
Absolutely. And you can also see that Nora is so committed to her work that she's up before 8 a.m. on a Saturday to do this interview to accommodate me as a new mom, being almost 3 p.m. In Israel. So thank you, Nora.
My pleasure. Thank you, Carine, for sharing. And yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, I've working with clients, also having you as a client, and just living in the era of COVID, the amount of stress and pressure and just the additional, this additional emotional charge that, you may have had, or anybody who's had trying to conceive during the COVID time, because you're not only just trying to conceive, but in addition to that, you're trying to plan a wedding, you're trying to get pregnant, everything is changing, plans are moving. And so I can only imagine how challenging that would be, especially kind of during this time that we live in. So kind of to move forward with that, as you thought about preparing for pregnancy and building your future family, what were some of the fears that were coming up for you around all of this about trying to get pregnant?
So I would say my husband and I had talked a lot about future family planning and when we wanted to get married and where we wanted to live and everything. And because, as I mentioned, it was a COVID era wedding, it did get moved quite a few times. And in the end, when it started to coincide with when we had planned on starting to try for a baby, we just turned to each other and we were like, you know what, let's just do the damn thing. Let's just get married in his parents' backyard with 30 people. And we'll stick to the original schedule of trying to conceive. So that meant we started about 4 months before the wedding. So it would have been, actually, I can't figure out the date in my mind on the spot. Okay. That doesn't matter. So, I mean, I had read so many articles and just trying to get myself a little bit mentally and emotionally prepared. And obviously, personal friends and families and hearing about their journeys. I would say like I had a decent amount of concerns and reservations. I'm also just that kind of a person. I work professionally as a strategist. So I like to have everything mapped out and, how can I optimize this great task ahead of me? And it became really clear to me that I wanted to have not just a co-pilot to take me around or through this super important journey, but like somebody super professional because, you really don't know what's ahead. And I wanted to be, best prepared or positioned right out of the gate, not, at least for me personally, again, this is just my story, not, a year down the road and say, okay, now I want to hire a professional. I really wanted to equip myself in the best way right from the get-go. So, age was my biggest concern by far. I had looked into freezing my eggs at a certain point because I did meet my husband in my 30s. So I didn't really know, when's it going to happen? Is it going to happen? How can I, still stick to achieving my goal of having a child? What is that going to look like? So, I did meet my husband and we had a baby, everything worked out. But yeah, my biggest challenge was how long is it going to take? Is she going to be healthy? Am I going to be healthy throughout the pregnancy? There's just so much you don't know until you cross into that preparation stage. It's unbelievable. It's like, if I thought university was hard, this is just, a world unto itself. And yeah.
That's awesome. And so tell us a little bit about kind of your journey now. There's everybody, like you said, you're on your own journey. Everybody's on their own journey. And, for some people, it takes years to get pregnant, but for you, actually, it kind of happened quite quickly. So if you want to share a little bit about kind of what that looked like, what the process was, but that would be great.
Yeah. So I remember we started working together, which I think was great before my husband and I officially started trying. And I really enjoyed that week 1, week 2 section of the program because it was just so, I guess, refreshing not to be intimidated by starting that journey. I just found everything was really, really laid out in a well-organized and digestible manner. And, I give you a lot of credit because on one hand, I did take away so much knowledge, but on the other hand, it wasn't overwhelming. And that's very, very difficult to approach a new topic and to, to look back on it and be like, wow, I learned a tremendous amount, but it didn't mess up my daily schedule or, overwhelm me in any way. So that was really helpful. We started working together and I started to learn about the wonderful recipes. Like I remember, you have a really cute name for it, but there was it the fertility goddess smoothie? What's it called, Nora?
Oh, there's so many different ones. Was it the green smoothies? The green smoothies? The green smoothie.
Yeah, but you had a really cute name for it in the program. I don't know. Do you remember?
I don't remember, but maybe it'll come to me. It's still early. I just woke up.
I think it's like fertility goddess or something. Anyway,
green fertility smoothie or fertility goddess smoothie, maybe one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, it was excellent. And to be honest, I'm not like a huge smoothie person, but it was a really delicious recipe, and I really, really enjoyed having it. And I felt like it was a really nice day to mentally kind of level set, through my breakfast, and to be like, I'm, this is my journey. I'm starting with my smoothie like I did yesterday, and putting myself in the best way nutritionally to get pregnant. And then when we officially, which I think is important, by the way, I think it's not just about, when you officially start, it's also preparing yourself in advance. And for some people that might be, getting off birth control, or I smoked cigarettes for, I don't know, let's say 10 years. And I quit smoking, I think 2 to 3 years before we started trying. So it's, there is, in my opinion, or in my journey, some preparation that has to be done before you actually start.
Absolutely.
And so once we actually started, I really loved learning about all the details of the fertility window. And there were just so many details that I didn't quite realize. And the basal body temperature tracking and that wonderful resource, the chart that you provided, and what's it called? I want to say vaginal secretions, but I know there's
cervical mucus. Cervical mucus. Yeah.
Sorry to get all weird on you guys.
Don't worry. Never TMI when you're talking about the subject.
Love female communities. That's awesome. And yeah, just diving into that and understanding in depth the female hormonal cycle and when it's best to try. And I was really excited. I remember to take the pregnancy test. And I remember the first time around, it was negative. And then I was kind of nervous, to talk to you, because I was like, oh no, I'm going to report it's negative. Is this bad? But you always really made it clear that it was truly a judgment-free zone, which I always tried to keep in my mind, because I know that's really your brand is just so welcoming and understanding. So that was a really comforting feeling for me. And then I remember we had a discussion over Zoom, and you asked me if I had any questions, and I said, like, listen, we used lube. I know this is again going into the TMI, but I think it's important that I do share this because I think it was quite pivotal in my journey. And you said, try and keep things as natural as possible. So next month when you try, do not use lube. And I reflected on it and I was like, okay, like maybe there's something there, because after all, it's putting some sort of a substance into the process, and maybe it's best to keep it as natural as possible. So with that being said, month 2, I got pregnant. Yeah. And I think we were both, I remember I was trying to connect with you and you were like, you could just feel that I had some really exciting news, and maybe it's because you knew my cycle. And anyways, it was a really special and beautiful feeling. Also quite shocking that it happened so quickly, but yeah, I will always credit you for, I mean, I feel like we skipped a bit to the finish line, so to speak.
That's okay.
But, when I think about my biggest takeaways from our journey together, it was really, for me, it was all about not just approaching it as something physical. I mean, I think nutrition played a huge role, and learning. And I mean, I mentioned the smoothie, but also for me, balancing my blood sugars and like learning about different supplements. Like there's that whole physical element that I think is really key, but it was also how important the mental side was. And what I mean by that is I loved how at the beginning of the program, you really stressed journaling and having a morning and evening ritual, and stress management and yoga and meditation. These are all elements that I incorporate in some way into my life, more or less, but it felt really nice to have that as like a friend throughout the journey, because it is so mental and so emotional going through this. And that's why I guess when it comes to just traditional medicine, I feel like there is this void of more of the mental, spiritual, emotional side. So I really, really loved that you approached it truly in a 360-degree manner.
Thank you, Carine. Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to mention about the lube thing, because, some just, okay, well, why don't use lube? But remembering that, there's different types of lube, but depending on which lube you're using, a lot of them have chemicals that could potentially disrupt the cervical mucus and the sperm. And so that could actually impede and get in the way of, fertilizing the actual egg. So you could actually kill the sperm before it even needs to get to where it goes. So you had mentioned that, we don't know what the variable was, but again, that second time around without, just for everybody listening. So just being mindful of, again, what you're putting in your body, in whether it's in your mouth or in different areas, you have to be mindful and careful about, just thinking about all the different little pieces. And again, sometimes we have our blinders on, right? We don't know all these things until we actually start talking to somebody. So now that you did get pregnant, and, I know just working with you as a client, even before pregnancy, struggling with kind of balancing your blood sugar definitely was one thing that we did place emphasis and focus on. So you did get pregnant. And if you don't mind sharing or being a little bit open about kind of maybe some of the challenges that you experienced while you were pregnant, and then also with those challenges, how important then it was to take that time up front in order to learn some of this stuff, so that, when you kind of faced some of the challenges that you did when you were pregnant, it wasn't maybe as overwhelming, or at least you had some of the tools, knowledge, and information to kind of help you say, okay, I'm going to figure this out, move forward the best way I can to make sure that, I deliver a healthy baby.
Absolutely. So yeah, we did dive in at the beginning a lot into, the daily diet and daily nutrition, and of course supplements. And I really ordered everything, and we talked about different brands, and you're just such an expert. It's like, it's not even about the supplement. Like I remember taking some sort of fish oil. You were like, these are the 3 brands I recommend. And it really took all the guesswork out of an area that I'm definitely not an expert in myself. So I can't remember when exactly it was, but let's say week 25-ish, I did find out that I had gestational diabetes, which does affect a tremendous amount of women. I mean, in my friend circle, I would say it's maybe up to like 1 in 5 of my friends gets it. And a lot of times it's not caught early enough, and that's a whole other story. But anyways, once you are diagnosed with it, you get an appointment with a nutritionist, and that can take quite a long time. And for a lot of women, that is very stressful to have that waiting period. And I felt quite confident, actually, because we'd already reviewed a lot of optimal nutrition, which did line up with the gestational diabetes diet. And you were also available for me to ask any other questions, because of course it was more on the carb, protein, fat, like really going into more of those macros and timing of the day, and what are good recipes. And you sent me like an amazing booklet that I stuck to, and you include all the nutritional data, so I could still stick to the gestational diabetes requirements of the day. So it was super, super helpful. And I can imagine if you didn't have a coach from the get-go to be diagnosed, like I underestimated how much of a revolution to my life it was going to be. And even with, you as this wonderful resource, it was crazy. And anytime you want to stray from it, like you just think, okay, I have this baby inside that's growing more and more and more. Like, what can I do to, make her the healthiest that she can be? And I felt so nice, or I felt so happy, I guess, knowing like I had a trusted advisor that wasn't just a doctor or a nutritionist, when I could only get an appointment like once every month, because that's just not super practical in my opinion.
Right. So you're saying once you got diagnosed from your conventional doctor with a gestational diabetes, they automatically set you up with a gestational diabetes nutritionist through kind of like the system. Right. Yeah. Right. And I remember you saying, well, this is what she told me, but what do you think? And then yes, exactly.
You're comparing and contrasting notes. Yes. And it was very basic, like through the healthcare system. It was like what, Nora, this would be like not even level 1 of what you teach your clients. This would be like level 0.01, like just way, way too basic. And I just want to scream from the rooftops to all the women out there, like, hire Nora, because like you need to know these things. It's really important.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. But lo and behold, you did follow your strict rules. You were very, you held yourself accountable, and you did deliver a beautiful, healthy baby. And now she's 7 months old, and you're a mom, and who knows if maybe number 2 is going to come around the corner one day. We shall see.
We'll see. First need to conquer that year 1 with baby Zoe.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
And so as we kind of come to an end, is there any advice that you would share with women out there who are still trying to conceive? Just kind of 1 or 2 basic things, or one of your biggest things that if, you were someone who was still trying to conceive, what would you say to yourself?
It's like such a big question, such an important question. Like, I think, being proactive is incredibly important. I don't know, what my journey would have been like if I got in contact with you, let's say, a year down the road, if, which happens to just so many women. And I understand it's just so challenging, and you can't plan for any of the twists and turns that may happen. So I think, just like, I really, really mean it. Like, I know I'm a past client, but I just like can't endorse you enough. I truly don't believe I would have gotten pregnant in month number 2 if I hadn't enrolled in your program. It was so incredibly holistic, and like, I think you do need to be, in a certain state of mind. Like, the body is such a complex system, and I think, having that accountability of you by my side in our weekly or biweekly calls, and just the wealth of information that I took away from the program. My best advice would be to start early. It's never too early. Don't wait, just for so many reasons, like you don't have to do that to yourself. I think it's really nice that, maybe I averted any like emotional hardships by getting a negative test, so many times in a row. That we did it together right from the beginning. And I'm just forever grateful. Like, it changed my life, Zoe's life, my husband's life. So really, thank you. I truly, truly mean it.
Thank you, Carine, so much for sharing. We really appreciate it. Everybody listening appreciates it. You know, it's stories. It's all about really connecting to people's stories. And thank you for sharing your story. And again, giving everybody just hope or some sort of motivation and inspiration to make some sort of slight change or keep going if they're feeling frustrated or deflated. You know, so thank you again for sharing your story. And yeah, thank you. And showing us little baby Zoe. I know she's out right now. So you've had, you know, you have 10, 15 minutes to spare for me. And I'm forever grateful for that as well. So thank you so much, Carine. And I will move on with my Saturday. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening and afternoon in Israel. And we'll chat soon. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.